From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on January 31st, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we take a deep dive. The latest surrounding the $1.8 billion accounting discrepancy, boondoggle, error, whatever you want to call it. I'm hearing hornswoggle is also a name we're going to use. Involving the state's books, and we hear from top state financial officials, including Treasurer Curtis Loftus, who was before a House subcommittee this week. The Senate passed its school voucher bill, and the governor gave his annual State of the State address. But we want to hear your State of the State address, so give us a shout at 803-563-7169. Let us know what's going on in your world and how the state of your things are, you know. We need to know what you're doing out there. Please, it's February. How are the New Year's resolutions going? Let us know. Who's going to be your Valentine? Hopefully we'll lead you to their heart. How do you solve a problem like a boondoggle? How do you catch a state elected official and pin him down? Those were many a things the House Ways and Means Constitutional Subcommittee sought to understand on Wednesday when officials with the Comptroller General, Auditor, and Treasurer's offices were before Republican Representatives Chris Murphy, Mike Caskey, and Richie Yao. Now, this subcommittee, like others with the Ways and Means Committee, seeks to hear from agency heads about their budget funding requests and their needs for the coming fiscal year, so that the entire Ways and Means Committee can craft its budget and move it to the House floor for a vote in March. But these three constitutional offices, well, they have a bit more baggage than others since the Comptroller General's office, led by former CG Richard Ekstrom, double-counted $3.5 billion years ago that was casually disclosed in the state's 2022 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report.
The ACFR.
That restatement led to Ekstrom's eventual resignation in 2023 and the discovery of the $1.8 billion discrepancy in Fund 993. They're all connected. The boondoggles, they boondoggle, folks. Now, just a little refresh, because I think we need to kind of keep talking about this because it is confusing, but the forensic audit says that the $1.8 billion represents the net cash balance of thousands of journal entries, the ultimate intent of which were to allow the state treasurer's office to balance the bank general ledger accounts in the state's accounting system, known as SCIS, to the cash balances maintained in individual banks. It's a pass-through account, not even an account, a fund. Now, this, however, did not go as intended. And that pass-through fund accumulated that $1.8 billion cash balance. But again, that wasn't real money. They're just figures. It's a balance. Now, the Alex Partners forensic audit traced this discrepancy back to the end of fiscal year 2016, when that fund and another had multi-billion-dollar balances. The auditor said that the state treasurer's office did not investigate the underlying cause of the differences between the state's accounting system and the bank. Instead, they held broader theories that any variances would, quote-unquote, wash upon completion of the conversion such that the total cash balance in Funds 992 and 993 would net to zero. So just a lot of accounting things going on here. It's going to work itself out to the tune of billions of dollars. Now, we understand, this is what's in the report, but we understand that a former state treasurer office employee was more focused on ensuring SCIS balance to the bank accounts rather than understanding the reason for any imbalance. So this is the problem we're talking about here. And that the treasurer's office should have investigated these variances. So that's what the audit stated. So that background being said, let's go to the Wednesday hearing. The auditor's office was up first. Mind you, State Auditor George Kennedy resigned a week ago after serving in the unelected position since 2015. Now, he didn't admit any fault or wrongdoing in his resignation letter to the governor, though his office is part of those to blame for this error. Sue Moss, a CPA and Director of Agency Relations at the Auditor's Office, told Representative Murphy and the panel about the agency's involvement.
That's the first year that any of us knew that there was a major problem, and that was because of the work of the Comptroller General's office, that became acknowledged to us,
When you say that was the first year
auditors.
the auditors, you're not speaking for the other two agencies.
No. They can do that themselves.
What was that year?
And that year was 2022.
2022 is when the Comptroller General's office, Catherine, with her, she had Catherine Kipp, had some expertise knowledge that really dug into that account you're referring to, some accounts that were not mapping to the ACFR, that she really dug in and found, and they were surprised. We were all surprised by how large a number that was, but we took the action that needed to be taken with a restatement and a finding.
So if there was money deposited into that account in 2018,
We would not have known to look for it.
and that would not have been your responsibility on the auditor's office.
I don't want to say that would not have been our responsibility. I want to say that we audited the information that was provided to us by the State Treasurer's Office and by the Comptroller General's Office.
So the auditor's office was not in charge of those accounts with the money, quote, we're using quotes around this money because it's not really real. But how about the new Comptroller General, Brian Gaines? He helped actually discover this $1.8 billion discrepancy following the resignation of his predecessor, Ekstrom, who had the job for 20-some years. Now, he's going to reference recommendations from the Alex Partners report and refer to the State Treasurer's Office as STO and the Comptroller General's Office as CGO. Take a listen.
While the $1.8 billion in erroneous accounting entries were made by the STO's conversion team, the CGO accepts the responsibility to make the necessary corrections within the accounting system as the report recommends, ensuring that they are both completed timely and accurately. Finally, recommendations 4 through 7 address the relationship and communication with the CGO and the STO. I inherited this relationship, and despite my best efforts, it continues to persist. The AP report makes some of the same observations that were made by the previous Malden and Jenkins report. The phrase shared responsibility has been thrown around a lot over the last few weeks. I would like to remind all parties that this is also a shared responsibility. Both offices must accept our shared responsibility in properly managing and reporting the state's cash and investments. As the state's Comptroller General, I would implore you and your colleagues to give careful and thoughtful consideration of recommendation number 6. I ask you not to look at the current incumbents nor the positions themselves, but to look at the functions and consider the following. How best can these functions jointly serve our state? Where should these functions reside? And what type of professional should lead them? The success of the remaining recommendations will depend on our response to recommendation number 6.
Now, you just heard Brian Gaines there talk about recommendation number 6 in that Alex Partners report, which reads, quote, consider changes to the CGO's and STO's duties and structure to enable better cooperation between the two agencies, quote. Now, Gaines was essentially drafted from the Executive Budget Office to become the Comptroller General and has been working to right the ship. Though, as you just heard, the relationship with the Treasurer's Office is not great. We've got to work together to fix this. A lot of finger pointing. Like that, it's very similar to the Spider-Man meme. And now if you know what I'm talking about, if you're hip, if you're online. And imagine just the state being in the middle of that.
Yes.
Subcommittee Chairman Chris Murphy asks Gaines whether he or the CGO had any interaction with that 993 fund. Take a listen.
Would the CG's office have been involved in investing money into a particular fund?
Not investing, no, sir. That is not a function within the CGO.
Would they have been involved in depositing money of $289 million into that fund?
We make no deposits in no fund other than our own fund, our own operating account.
So back in 2018, we now know, based on your testimony and the testimony of the State Auditor's Office, that in 2018, a investment, a deposit, however we want to characterize it, into account number 993 was made, but it was not made by the CG's office and it was not made by the State Auditor's Office.
Correct.
Who else would have had control over 993?
Fund 30350993 is in the exclusive authority of the State Treasurer's Office.
So now that was reiterated and everyone has discussed their shared responsibility, Treasurer Curtis Loftus took to the podium for 90 minutes where he first gave his budget request for additional funding needs, something that Murphy had a hard time supporting in light of the agency's role in this error.
As the state banker, testified in the Senate, gave interviews, posted things on Facebook and other social media outlets, in which you are on record as stating that the $1.8 billion was, or 1.6, what's 200 million between friends, was actual money. My question to you, was that an accurate statement?
You've embedded a whole lot, so let me back up.
It's a yes or no question.
No, sir, it's not, unless I
what-
accept all of your premises.
Okay,
and I
well,
don't.
let me ask you this. Was the $1.6 billion actual money?
All right, I'd like to talk about that if I can.
Yes or no? And then you can answer the question, and then you can explain it. But all I'm asking you is, was it actual money? Yes or no?
The Alex Partners report says that after 10 years of forensic review, forensic review of 10 years of cash and investments of the State Treasurer's Office, hundreds of billions of dollars that our books reconcile. They balance. That's the most important sentence in the whole report. The problem we have is in the Comptroller General's books, the funds do not reconcile to the bank and we don't know what those funds mean. We don't see the offsetting entries. We don't see any of that on a regular basis. Those are in the Comptroller General's purview. We manage the cash, and the Alex Partners report says several times, we reconcile to the bank. That's the most important thing we do. We're in the cash and investment business.
Okay, so you're in the cash and investment business. Was there $1.6 billion in cash in Fund 993?
That fund,
yes or no?
That fund, which is an accounting representation, does not hold cash. It is not a bank account.
Okay.
And we do not know.
Thank you. Let me ask you this. It is not a bank account that holds funds. Then why in 2018 was there $289 million deposited into an account that does not, according to you, hold funds?
I don't know about that entry. I
just asked and you heard, I just asked the state auditor, just asked the Comptroller General, and both of them said that they did not do it. They are the other financial officers within this, the state, and that the Comptroller General said that account unequivocally is under the control of the State Treasurer's Office. So somebody deposited $89 million, $45 million of that, which is phantom money, which did not exist, such as the $1.6 billion, into that account.
I'd like
that would be your department, correct? That would be your agency.
Representative, you are framing these questions in such a way that they're going to be extremely difficult to have for people to be educated about this.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not, I'm not a very educated person, obviously, because I just asked a simple question. Does $1.6 billion in account 993, did it ever exist? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
And I've answered the total cash in the bank.
You didn't answer the question, sir. You didn't answer yes or no.
I don't know what to do.
I mean,
is there an answer to this question?
Yes, the answer is no.
No, sir. It's more complicated.
Well, I mean,
I'd like to introduce Perry Brazil. He's
all right. Well, I'm done. I'm not done asking you questions if you don't mind.
So, should the taxpayers have trust in Loftus? Does he take responsibility? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? Well, Micah Caskey enters the chat.
So I'm hearing this out, and I'm understanding the process that you get to this point that you're aware of, that you're integrally involved in, and you...
No, I never knew. I don't think the Comptroller General ever knew. This was all at the heavy-duty staff level with independent consultants and all that. I mean, it was never brought to my attention. I'm not sure if Richard Ekstrom ever knew.
So
maybe he did. I don't know.
Did you know that this process was happening?
Oh, the whole conversion, of course.
Did you know that the funds were being created and used for the purpose of tracking funds throughout the management of monies throughout the conversion process? Did you know about the use of 993?
I think I knew about the use of 993. I knew it was a conversion account.
Do you think it's fair for us to expect you, as the treasurer, to understand and at least approve of the things to which your office does? And we'll accept for our purposes here some outlier criminal activity for sure.
There's a whole layer of real professionals who've been doing this work for 20, 30, 40 years.
There was a problem that you knew about as a part with others. You didn't raise it with the General Assembly. The CG didn't raise it with the General Assembly. The auditor didn't raise it with the General Assembly. The external auditor didn't raise it with the General Assembly. And that began in 2016. And in the year of our Lord, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. And then in 2022, the silence was broken about this all. Is any part of that wrong?
I will stipulate to anything you say.
I don't want you to get out of this question, sir.
I'm not. I've stipulated.
Do we agree that you did not, and to your knowledge, nor did the CG, the auditor, or the external auditors raise with the General Assembly the problem of a fund for which all of the monies were not wholly accounted for, and the monies that were a fund that was created for the purpose of putting monies that were not originally accounted for? Is that right?
We reported this in our closing package every year. We reported it to Brian Gaines at the EBO every year. There are lots of reports that go very specifically and talk about this, that we did not take it to the General Assembly. I didn't know it, and I don't know that I would have thought it should be, because the bank balance, as Alex Partner says, that's what we're mostly concerned with. Now, if I'm to be involved with the comptroller's books on a regular basis and second guess him and all, we'll have to think about that. There'll be statutory changes made. We can do all that, but we have our responsibilities, and we're very good at it. If we look back in hindsight, where hindsight's 2020, maybe we should have. But again, Mr. Cassidy, let me say this: not a penny is missing. This is accounting. No state has ever gone where we are right now. We have placed in peril the financial systems and reputation of this state. We have excluded ourselves from the normal avenues of municipal finance because we're discussing accounting entries on the front page of the paper instead of finding out exactly what happened and when happened. Now, we have more clarity now than we used to.
Well, that's precisely the problem, Ms. Love. At the risk of cutting you off there, I think I know where you're going. The problem is that this issue was not raised to the General Assembly to further investigate. And so, rather than be in a position where we could have spent thousands of dollars in inquiry as to where this $1.8 billion had come from, we now have been forced to spend millions of taxpayer dollars. And I assign the responsibility for that to all of those who were involved in this process, those with the shared responsibility, as you've termed it.
Yes.
And that is fundamentally the problem that we now find ourselves in as people question the fiscal health of our state. And they question that because the question is not, did the bank reconcile? It is, what is the totality of the fiscal management of the state of South Carolina? Do they know exactly how much money they have on hand, and do their books match? And the answer, it appears, from the Alex report is no.
We know exactly how much money we have on hand. When they reverse the 1.6, it doesn't change the cash balance.
We know.
That's what we know.
Okay. Well, we'll go back over this one more time. I am not challenging your assertion that you know how much is in the bank. I see no evidence that calls that into question. But I don't think it is a fair statement to say that that is the only thing by which we're judged. In fact, the opposite is true. We are judged on the totality of the fiscal health, of which you are a key manager.
Yes.
And that brings us to the present moment. And so, again, not only do we have this systemic level problem, we have the fact that we are now outlaying millions of dollars for these outside experts for something that, had it been brought to our attention in a timely way, we could have addressed.
It continued on like that for another 30 minutes, but that's where we're leaving it today. I hope you've stuck with me through all this and got some answers, some resolution. We know y'all are super interested in this topic, so I wanted to give you a good chunk of that hearing, knowing that y'all maybe didn't watch all 2 hours of it like I did. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. It's my job. As for now, we're still seeing lawmakers working through those recommendations in the Alex Partners Forensic Audit Report, and the House doing its due diligence like it did on Wednesday. So more to come, don't worry. Take your dose. That was your dose for this weekend. A long little deep dive there. Let's move away from the boondoggle and smash cut to later Wednesday when Governor Henry McMaster was before the joint assembly of House and Senate lawmakers in the House chamber for his annual State of the State address. His 8th, his penultimate one, too. Penultimate. Second to last, that's what that means. And the address also came on the same day that he officially became the state's longest-serving governor after being sworn in on January 24th, 2017, ascending from lieutenant governor after the United States Senate confirmed Governor Nikki Haley as President Donald Trump's ambassador to the United Nations. Of course, on Wednesday night, there weren't many fireworks in his address or surprises, having already gone over most of it 3 weeks ago in his executive budget proposal. Talking about reducing income taxes, increasing starting teacher salaries, conservation efforts, disaster recovery needs following Hurricane Helene last fall, increasing energy production amid growing demand, and more. So take a little listen here.
3 years ago, I signed into law the largest income tax cut in state history to drop the personal income tax rate from 7% to 6% over a period of 5 years. Our booming economy has created annual budget surpluses that have allowed us to accelerate these tax cuts faster than anticipated. This year, I'm proposing that we cut the state's personal income tax rate again from 6.2 down to 6%, allowing taxpayers to keep an additional $193.5 million of their hard-earned money in their pockets instead of sending it to the state government. Last week, Santee Cooper began the process of gauging the feasibility of and the interest in restarting the construction of 2 abandoned nuclear reactors at the V.C. Summer Nuclear Station. I believe that restarting these 2 reactors in South Carolina will not only help fuel our state's future power needs, but will also usher in a nuclear power renaissance across the United States, one that will spur nationwide investment in construction of new nuclear power generation that will provide America with ample, clean, resilient energy for the future and deter challenges to our national security. Last year, the General Assembly was able to reach consensus on legislation that would have addressed many of our future energy needs. But we didn't finish. We need this legislation. We're running out of time. I ask that you send this legislation to my desk so that I can sign it into law. And let's hurry.
While he said the state's in superior financial shape with growing tax revenues and substantial reserves, he did not mention the $1.8 billion accounting discrepancy, overseen in part, like we heard, from Treasurer Curtis Loftus's office. However, Senator Margie Bright Matthews from Colleton County did hammer on that in the Democratic message.
The truth is, our economy can't be as robust as you've described, Governor, since our Finance Committee recently uncovered a $1.8 billion discrepancy in our Treasury that ultimately led to the resignations of the Comptroller General and the Auditor. Last year, Treasurer Loftus testified under oath that he knew where the $1.8 billion was and that it had earned over $250 million in interest. Now they say the $1.8 billion never even existed. Imaginary money. What is the truth? Yet, our leadership continues to support Treasurer Loftus, knowing that we cannot afford to entrust our state's financial resources to a politician who has proven he knows nothing about protecting and investing the people's money.
One of those bills that the governor said he wanted sent to his desk ASAP, the school choice voucher bill. That's right. It got one major step closer to his desk on Thursday. That's because the state Senate passed it after days of debate on the matter. Remember, this started at the beginning of session. Now, that passage of the bill marked a key early legislative victory for Republicans, nearly all of whom voted for the bill. Now, what does this bill do? Well, it now heads to the House, and it would use state educational lottery funds to fund K through 12 vouchers to households who earn up to 300% of the federal poverty level to apply to get $7,500 in lottery dollars to pay for private school tuition or other accepted K through 12 costs. Up to 10,000 students would be able to apply, but in the next fiscal year, that financial threshold would go up to 400% of the poverty line for up to 15,000 students. Now, how much money each student would get is dependent upon how much money is sent to the public schools, but it would come out to about 90% of per pupil costs. Now, just a reminder, the decision to use lottery funds comes after the state Supreme Court last September found that a similar bill that became a law that used general fund dollars to fund private tuition, that was unconstitutional. Now, current education lottery money, which has been declining, funds higher education scholarships. So there's a little bit of demand there. We're going to have to see some budget work happening to fund this. And of course, that's reporting from the State House Gavel blog that me, Maayan Schechter, and Russ McKinney compile every Tuesday through Friday during the session. You can find it on scetv.org/news. Bang, bang. Welcome to the wind down section. Our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, everyone. A.T. Shire, lead producer, is here as well.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you. Yes.
The days are ticking down to the big Sunday.
Time is dragging so slow. Every moment is a torture.
Just treasure it. No, you have to treasure it. Lean into it.
I can't. I just want it. I honestly want it over with for good or bad, just so it can be done with.
Like a bad tooth.
Yeah, just yank it out. But tie a rope to a door, slam the door, get it out. Anyway, Gavin, one thing I do want to get into this podcast right now is a call from a great friend. So if you are ready,
I'm ready.
We're going to go. Okay.
I think I'm ready.
He's ready.
I'm
folks.
ready.
Here we go.
Hey guys, this is baby's mama calling in to check in. We've been back in school, or at least we were supposed to have been back in school for, I think we're going on 3 or 4 weeks now. I needed to stop snowing. We were out for 2 days this week. I thrive on routine. Baby girl is in the back seat with me right now. We just left the gym. I'd like to give some props out to baby's daddy for working out with me this week. And on top of his grad class and all of his stuff that he does for his school, he's killing it.
Shout out.
The update on the cell phone policy, so far, we're chugging along. It was really good the first couple weeks. Like, the kids, it felt like it was fresher in their minds. And then with these breaks sporadically that we've had for snow days, it seems like the day after we come back, it's always like a reset, like, hey, guys, remember, you can't be on that. They're also getting a little sneaky. I might have busted someone with a hat, which they're not supposed to wear either. It had built-in headphones. So, we're making things work. Thank you for keeping up with the news for us and sharing and explaining it all to us. I appreciate being able to rely on y'all. AT.
Yes.
For the love of all of us, please, please, please update that voicemail message. You give me PTSD sometimes when I call in and ask me about coronavirus, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. All right, well, I'll stop harassing y'all now. I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll talk to y'all another time. Bye.
Baby's mama, thank you for calling. Yes, we also believe that routine is king here, and we are glad that we are part of your routine.
Oh, yes.
And love all those good shout-outs that we're giving you. Also interesting about that cell phone policy, still kind of going a little start and stop with that. I would grab some kid's phone so fast and just throw it in the trash. I'm sure they can't do that.
Gavin beat HR so fast.
No, HR hate to see me coming.
Just absolutely yeeting these phones against the floor. Yeah, good for him.
But I know she's talking about the snow, and that seemed like so long ago, and because now it's 70 degrees outside.
At time of recording, it's 70-something outside, yeah.
Yes, we'll try and change that, the voicemail, because
Gavin,
some spring cleaning is necessary.
He's great. And speaking of changes, Gavin, we have a new guest.
There's someone in the studio with me.
Yes, we have someone in studio, and she has a problem with us.
Yeah,
introduce.
You take a number. Go, ma'am, state your name for the record.
I don't know if you've heard of me before. I'm Maayan Schechter. I'm a reporter here.
Good to meet you.
South Carolina Public Radio.
I've been here for 8 years, and I'm still learning people.
I'm still figuring out people's faces, yeah.
And
understandable.
Okay, yeah. I think I've seen you at the State House.
Yeah.
Are you also part of the State House Gavel blog?
I am.
Gavel? Clank, clank.
I think we work on it together.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, Maayan, this is so
Schechter.
Maayan
Schechter.
It's like seeing a long-lost relative, really.
Okay. And you have a problem with us.
complaint.
I have
here.
a complaint. I've been trying to figure out who to file it with.
Yeah, this is the perfect place. Yes,
And
thank you.
I decided to come straight to the
Thank you.
source.
The source of the problem.
The source
Okay,
of the
yeah.
problem.
I thought we were
Sources.
more of a symptom of the problem, but maybe we are the source.
These
Anyway,
are-
yeah, patient
you are
zero.
the sources of the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Boondoggle. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm sorry. You have an issue with the word?
Yes, and I have a replacement.
Oh, okay. So she comes in to our studio.
Yeah.
And calls us out.
Uh-huh.
And then says, "Here's what you should do instead." Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I don't come with a complaint. I also come with results.
Solutions.
Or solutions.
We
Correct.
respect that.
Yes.
What is your solution, ma'am? We'll take it under advisement.
Okay. I love the word shenanigan.
It is a shenanigan for sure, but there's a lighthearted connotation.
There is. It actually, I think it would also make like a really good restaurant name.
Shenanigans?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to
we can do that.
Shenanigans after.
We're getting
work.
into Bennigan's and Houlihan's
Wasn't that from
territory.
Office Space? Wasn't that the name of?
It very well
Shenanigans.
could be.
Am I
It was something.
stealing? Am
No.
I stealing?
You're just
No, you're
being like
comedic
tech
genius.
bros who recreate things that they've forgotten
AT
about.
today
That's right.
suggested hornswoggle.
I like
So-
hornswoggle. Yeah.
You just want us to
It's
break
a
it
lot.
up? I mean,
I
you're
think-
tired of boondoggle?
I think maybe just like a small break, a sabbatical, if you will, from
Mm-hmm.
boondoggle.
Because every time I put in the blog, my aunt's like, oh, probably rolling her eyes somewhere.
It
We
gives
just know that the
me-
SEO for boondoggle
It's
is
pretty good.
It's through
You're
the roof.
building it. It's probably being built by you
we
both.
just have such a great connection and history to it because of VC
First
Summer.
episodes.
Right.
First,
You know,
first
if
episodes.
Andy Brown's out there listening, you know, he really
He was the
he
boondoggle
loved,
boy.
He loved a
him and
boondoggle.
him and Avery.
He's obsessed.
When they were both like competing over a VC Summer coverage, and now here we are.
Gavin, actually, my aunt, I don't mean to blindside you, but Gavin has a word that he's said that you overuse here.
Oh, wow. The tables have turned.
hold
This
on,
feels like a
please,
Real
what
Housewives
word?
reunion.
Yeah, well,
episode.
Penultimate. Yes.
You weren't. It was just. It was the time. It's okay. It's just been a lot lately, and I love saying it. It's fun to say.
I said it.
We've talked about it too.
We did talk about it. And to be fair, I've used it about one thing, and the one thing was the state of the state.
And when you get to use it, you got to use it.
That's right.
Don't get
You
me
gotta
wrong.
lean
How-
in.
I can't-
It's like Fortnite.
I mean,
Which
when
unfortunately
you get a
is-
chance to
it's been
hit
stolen.
him with the Fortnite.
But let's be fair.
But we're not talking
I
about the
can't
game.
really use it anymore.
Sure.
You know, next year I won't be able to use it.
This was almost your penultimate.
It was
Penultimate.
it was her
Yeah.
ultimate usage.
That's right.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
the ultimate use.
Yeah.
Ultimate use of penultimate.
It was my mic
Exactly.
drop word.
Yeah,
usage.
tiny mic drop.
Tiny mic
Check
drop.
the tiny mic drop
yeah,
out.
check it out. No, that's okay. We'll take it under advisement. We can change it up. I mean,
Hey, we
after
can
a while-
change.
The next episode should be something like boondoggle shenanigans. I don't know.
Yeah, we can.
Some boondoggle shenanigans.
Text-
Can you
text the
actually?
hotline with a
Can you
good
like
portmanteau.
take since like boondoggle is kind of almost like two shenanigan, 3 or 4, whatever. Can you kind of like put them together like puzzles? Create a word
That's
from both.
a portmanteau. Yeah, that's a portmanteau.
Wow.
It would be
Ooh.
like
Look at that.
shenoggle
Shenoggle.
or boonanigan.
I like that.
Ooh, I like that.
Can we get 2 orders of the boonanigan?
Yeah, that's a drink special at Houlihan's.
It might be a
Yeah.
Cajun
And it's
dish.
green. It's green. It's not
Unnaturally so.
It's a color that we're not quite sure what.
Well,
in
the
it.
FDA is about to outlaw it, so enjoy it while you still can.
Yeah, that sweet,
But
sweet
my
flavor.
just to put a finer point on this, to
Yeah.
put a bow on it, to
Let's
circle back and run
yeah,
it out
yeah,
in
yeah,
the flagpole
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Is it just that we're saying too much, or you just don't like the word, or
Does it grind your gears?
What's grinding the gears?
Are you taking umbrage?
I think because I normally do not hear it in my everyday, although now I hear it every day. But
It's part-
I think
yeah.
normally because I don't hear it every day, it's just now at the time. I see it. I can see.
It's like when
I
you see a
it.
car for the
Right.
first time and then you see them everywhere, sort of
Right.
deal.
Like a Cybertruck.
Right.
Like a Cybertruck,
Like
unfortunately.
which I see all the time in
Yeah.
Colombia.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, look, I respect the word. I respect the use of the word. I
I
don't
don't
want
know.
it eliminated
You can.
from the vocab.
But you want it.
It's important
You want it
that-
cordoned off, and only the proper people with proper
access?
can use
We'll
it.
gatekeep it. We'll
Yeah,
gatekeep it.
that's why I feel like
We'll let
we've
it
been
out every
doing.
now and then.
Yeah,
we'll let it do.
and by every now and then, most episodes for the foreseeable future.
But
But
every
my
now
aunt,
and
we
then.
will feel bad for you every time that we use it.
Thank
Okay?
you.
We
Yes.
appreciate you coming to us.
Yeah.
And
Being open.
and sharing your story with
Yeah.
us.
But
we
we
see
are-
you and we hear you.
We
but
are going to dock your pay
we-
for.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We're gonna dock your pay. Yeah, that's not on us. That's just the rules.
It's
fair.
complicated.
Yeah, I'm glad you're okay with it. But Mayan, thank you so much for being Gavin.
welcome.
Hit the
Wait,
outro.
we'll have to do this segment more often.
The things that Mayan cannot stand. It actually sounds like a really good show.
I mean,
I'm ready.
we're here for
I'm
it.
ready,
I think our listeners will be too. Hit us with a voicemail like Baby's Mama and tell us what word you think we don't use enough, or we overuse, or you would like us to use more of. And we might do it. I'm not saying we will, but we might. 803-563-7169. And you can always stay up to date with the latest news on scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
Slop.
Are you still on?
You're the slop, yeah.
You know what word I actually... I'm not on.
Just
this
say it.
isn't about me. But, you know...
Well,